Here's another little idea or thought that I think you've completely glossed over or maybe not touched on, and I think it's kind of a sidebar but relevant to what we're talking about. And have you ever heard the phrase, it is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved before? And if you substitute live for love, it is better to have lived and lost than never to have lived before. Let's say hypothetically that you're a soul in heaven, say waiting in the well of souls to be born, and you're given a choice that you can choose to be born or choose not to be born. Knowing full well if you choose to be born, then you'll have another choice to make, to love God or not love God. And hanging in the balance in that choice is eternal damnation or eternal glory with God. Would you, therefore, if you chose wrongly, not be more happy if you were in hell for all eternity? Would you want to go back and change that and not be born? Or would you say it is better to have lived and to lost than to have never have lived? To me, that's just food for thought. I think that people will choose life, and hopefully they'll make the right decisions. But like I say, God doesn't rig the game. It's up to you. Again, your lack of theological depth shows here. And I do think it's a result of Islamic theology, which I think is lacking. Is that a dig against you? Yeah, because you make yourself out to be God's judge. And anybody that does that, you probably deserve worse than me throwing a little dig on you. But I'm not going to be like the Islamic terrorists that threaten your life type of deal. Because we want you to come to know Christ. And whether you choose to or not, it's between you and God. But two things are always at work here in the world. One is God's perfect will, which can never be changed. And if you want to know how everything turns out, you might want to read Revelations. Number two is God's permissive will. That's where he uses your limited free will and makes things work when, even if you make bad choices. But he allows you to reap what you sow. With free will comes consequences. If God is holy, then he cannot abide sin. Therefore, apart from God, there is nothingness. You presuppose you're an independent being, some kind of semi-autonomous being here. Yet you exist within the grace of God. Your breath, your heartbeat right now and strength are sustained by him. Foolish creature you are. Apart from you accepting God's free gift of salvation, you will spend eternity in hell. And you know what? You will deserve it. Justice will be done because you have trampled over God's sacrifice of his Son on your behalf, the free gift. And let me tell you this, in heaven, the just will be glad when justice is done. Like I say, God takes no pleasure in sending a soul to hell. But he does take pleasure in justice and metering out punishment for those who deserve it. The next topic you brought up was the pointlessness of God. Now, to me, here again, you're in a dangerous place. Whenever you suppose yourself to be more righteous than the Almighty. And, you ask a couple of questions. You say, does God feel? And we already covered this earlier, but I'll say it again. Yes, God feels because God is love, as we stated before. You ask, did he create language? And I would say, yes, he created language. As a matter of fact, you might do some research into Noam Chomsky's Noam Chomsky, to give you a quick sidebar on that as well, doesn't believe that language came from evolution. He believes it's innate in human beings. And a famous theologian, whose name escapes me right now, said that why should we think it odd that God, who created language, would not give it to us innately? And so So it's not the product of evolution.